Okay, apologies everyone for being tardy. I had to take care of something and I thought I could get it done within a certain amount of minutes, but it kind of carried on a little bit longer than I was expecting. So, once again, my apologies. But before we get started, I just want to say thank you everyone for just the continued support of this channel. I honestly feel like we're going to hit 3,000 before my birthday. I feel like that could actually happen, or at least I feel like it could happen in March. So I just want to say thank you for every bit of support that you've shown this channel. I'm honored that you guys enjoy what I do, and I can't wait to bring you even more. I mean, March is starting tomorrow, and we got a lot of things like my birthday, and we got Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and then we got Stranger of Paradise, and then we have the continued streaming of Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring as well. So I'm really looking forward to it all. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get this started, shall we? Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another One Piece reflection stream. We got 3 chapters. Well, let me just explain this for those who don't know. I do a stream at the end of every month where we reflect on the chapters of One Piece, all the things that have transpired throughout all the chapters released within a month, and then we take that information and kind of hypothesize, maybe make up some theories, and even discuss what's happening in these chapters that could lead into the next month and kind of think about where the story is going to go from here. I probably should say that at the start of every reflection stream so that way those who don't know what's going on can get a rough idea of it. So I might start doing that from now on. But it's good to see Ogata-san, good to see you Psycho, and good to see you Slime for us. It's good to see you as well. Hello, welcome. I don't think I've ever seen you here before, but all I ask is that you just enjoy yourself while you're here. That's it. So we got 3 chapters that released, chapters 1039, 1040, and then yesterday was 1041. So let's go ahead and get started with these chapters, shall we? I got it lined up right here. And of course, since I didn't open up the page in a while, it's now got to refresh it and reload everything. Of course it does. But I'm bringing up the other pages as well, like the previous pages before it on the wiki, because they have details that I kind of want to go over that I may have overlooked and you guys may have notified me of. So I'm waiting for that to load up. Even though I'm using, like, hold on, man, no wonder. I don't even know why. I don't even know why I had my Elgato set up. It was taken, I don't know why I had it sitting up this whole time. It was making everything move slow. I'm sorry. I forgot that I had my Elgato up because I was taking pictures. I was taking pictures because I was playing Horizon, and I haven't done anything story related. I've just been kind of making myself stronger, and I've just been taking pictures. Apologies, I didn't realize it was slowing down the frame rate of my video. All right, so I got chapters 1039, 1040, and 1041 on the wiki. And I have chapter 1039 right here. All right, so this is the one with the color cover page with the Straw Hats walking through a jungle and Luffy messing with a monkey with a crown on his head, and it's just a whole crew just walking through there. And chapter 1039 is called Top Billing, and it has Momonosuke doing his best to pull Onigashima away from the city, which he's actually doing. He's actually pulling Onigashima, the entire island itself, away from the flower capital. And as this is going on, this is after Kid used his punk Cornadio on Big Mom and rammed her into a wall. And everyone was just like, Big Mom got knocked off of her feet. And Kid's crew's cheering for him, Law's crew's cheering for him, but Law and Kid are not paying attention to it because they're both kind of bothered with each other because he's like, Because Law is like, why did you get the final attack in? I'm not your opening act. And Kid is like, who cares about that? It's not important. And then they just continue to argue as Big Mom gets up with her. They're just arguing like, put a big real hurt on her, then I can finish the job. Don't tell me what to do. The ultimate attack I've got up my sleeve is the one that'll end that hag. Oh yeah, what comes after? The bull, a hippo, an elephant, and then Kid. They're just steadily arguing with one another. That's not really important right now, but they're steadily going back and forth with each other as Big Mom is getting up. Hold on, let me pop out chat to the side. There we go. So they're just steadily arguing with one another, and Big Mom is getting up. And in the process of Kid using his punk cornadillo on Big Mom, he wound up cracking a couple of her ribs and actually breaking her right arm in the process. And in this instance, she uses her soul ability to heal her arm completely. And in this instance, she's revitalized. And as this is going on, Big Mom uses a new move in this chapter called Mazer Saber, which is basically the combination of Prometheus, Napoleon, and Hera. In the same way she did her Mazer Cannon, which took out Ulti, she uses that same combination to make a sword of pure laser sword that slices completely through Kid's punk cornadillo. The thing about it is, it doesn't affect Kid because it's just metal. So she slices it in half, but he's not bothered by it. And even Kid kind of, tells her, like, this isn't nothing. This is just scrap to begin with. And then Big Mom says, the time for dreaming is over. Listen up, you brats. We've sunk hundreds of people just like you into the sea. We've been reigning as emperors for decades, since the days before you were weaned off your mother's milk. And as she's saying this to Kid launches at her, and then we understand that his awakened Jiki Jiki no Mi has basically the ability to magnetize or polarize a person or any other object to that of the North and South poles. So he says assign, and in doing so, he assigns Big Mom the South Pole, while he assigns a nearby wall with the North Pole. And in that instance, she's instantly pulled towards the wall and stuck there. She's not even able to move. And as this is happening, Kid creates another punk cornadillo and tries to use it to slam into Big Mom. But with Big Mom's strength, she literally rips the wall out of its foundation and uses the wall to shield herself from the punk cornadillo attack from Kid. And everyone is like, what? She stood up, tower and all. And Kid just says, that's ridiculous. And Big Mom says, why would you put all of this extra weight on my back? And then she says, Mother's Visit Cannon, 3,000 Leagues of Misery. And in this instance, she uses her sword, she uses her Mazer Saber, which is akin to that of Basil Hawkins using his straw man from his sword. She uses it in that same way and creates a whole new being that is basically autonomous and can attack on its own from this saber. It's pure fire and lightning, and she uses it to try and attack Kid. And as this is happening, and as Misery is attacking Kid, Law uses tact to cause a platform to fall on top of Big Mom, and then just pile drive directly on her. And this is the moment where we see Law use one of his most powerful attacks, which some people said it was kind of ridiculous for it to do what it did in this next few panels, of which I will explain. But after Big Mom is buried a little bit underneath this entire tower that Law just dropped on her, Law uses Kroom again to go over his sword Kikoku, and he jumps on top of Big Mom, but in the process the sword continues to extend not only through Big Mom, but extends into the armory, extends through the performance floor, extends out of Onigashima itself, down deep into the ground of Wano. And as this is going on, Big Mom is trying her best to punch Law, and in this panel, you can see that she's using armament hockey because her hands are blackened up. She's using armament hockey to enhance her attacks in order to get Law off of her. But Law is not giving way, which kind of speaks to Law's durability, because we all know that Big Mom is a substantially powerful individual. So for Law to not only take her monstrous strength, but also take that monstrous strength that's also being imbued with Conqueror's Haki, and he's still not getting knocked off because he's holding on, speaks to his durability and just how strong he's become since the events of Punk Hazard and Dressrosa and all the battles leading up to this one. His durability has significantly increased if he's able to survive getting punched on by Big Mom. But we see that his sword has embedded all the way down deep into the ground of Wano, and he uses a new move called Puncture Will, which is essentially like his awakened Shock Will move. When he used Shock Will on Big Mom before, it essentially... Sorry, nose was running a little bit. Had to double check and make sure I was not bleeding, and I'm not. When he used Shock Will beforehand, it's essentially it's essentially an attack that allows him to fry and electrocute the insides of an individual, bypassing their outward defenses, which is how he managed to injure Big Mom in the first place. But Puncture Will takes that same type move, and instead of shocking a person's insides, it causes shock waves to go through a person. And we see the extent of how powerful this attack is, because when he uses Puncture Will, we see what effect it has on the environment of Wano. And the effect it has is powerful enough to not only destroy the ground that his sword has been embedded into, but also a ginormous portion of the area in the mountain range where his sword was. There is a gigantic gaping hole in the mountain range of Wano right now where his sword came down. And it's so deep that you cannot see the bottom. And it's absolutely massive. Like, the hole is big enough to see from all the way up to Onigashima. That's like thousands of feet in the air. And Big Mom was at the point blank brunt of that attack. And in this instance, it's still surprising no one in the Flower Capital heard that. I'd imagine the music that's going on in the Flower Festival right now is probably drowning them out. Plus, there's tons of drunk people, so that already kind of deafens their auditory senses as well. So I'm actually kind of surprised that no one in the Flower Capital heard that as well. But they are still a significant distance away from the Flower Capital. But Big Mom takes this attack, and she just spits out blood, like a whole bunch of blood, and her eyes almost go white. And then she's coughing. Where's the Kizaru coat? I decided to be a little bit relaxed today. I decided to keep myself... I decided to be a little bit more relaxed. If people want me to wear the coat, I'll wear it. I'll just wear it over the top of my stuff. But Big Mom kind of rolls over on her side as she's coughing up blood after having this massive attack hit her. And then Momonosuke sees this and he's wondering, where did this giant hole come from? And then Yamato is wondering where the hole came from. Then Misery tries to make its way towards Law. And then Law tells Kid, Eustace, do it. And it turns out that Kid has created an entire railgun. Giant railgun that's point blank in front of Big Mom. And Big Mom is like looking at this attack, and then she tries to, play it off like, give me all you've got then. You think you can beat me? I'm Big Mom. And Kid says, and that's why we're getting rid of you. and he uses a new move called Darn Punk, which is essentially his railgun attack, and he shoots directly into Big Mom, and that causes her to spit out even more blood from her mouth and blood from her nose. With Kid, finishing off this chapter saying, "Your era is over." Now, that's chapter 1039. So if I go to the finer details of it, we have the short summary of it, which is, with their attacks now inflicting significant harm on Big Mom. I'm going to do this from now on. I'll read the short summaries of these chapters so you guys can get like a more professional play-by-play. With their attacks now inflicting significant harm on Big Mom, but their bodies on the verge of unconsciousness, Law and Kid mount a final tag team assault against the Emperor. Law manages to get to Big Mom and penetrate her with his K-Room enhanced sword, which he stretches all the way down to the Wano mainland many kilometers below. He then unleashes another shockwave which harms Big Mom and opens a hole below her. Before Big Mom can unleash a counterattack, Kid comes in with a gun made out of magnetized scrap metal and fires a laser at her. So that wasn't actually... it's a laser cannon that he created. I thought it was like a I thought it was like a rail gun, but then again, rail guns can be, shoot metallic pieces out and be lasers. But I didn't think it was a laser. I thought it was just like a solid round he shot at her. Apparently, this is telling me that he shot a railgun laser directly into Big Mom, blasting her into... Kid comes in with a gun made of magnetized scrap metal and fires a laser at her, blasting her into the hole with nothing between her and the mainland. Now, if we go to the quick references here, Momonosuke continues to pull Onigashima away from the Flower Capital. He notes that an unknown someone or something is calling for him. The fight between Law and Kid against Big Mom continues. What's the difference? Railguns, as we know it, they tend to have metallic pieces that use electromagnetism to shoot those metallic pieces out. Laser rounds are essentially, lasers, as far as I know. But for what in the real world, we don't have any laser railguns. We have, physical ammunition railguns, but Kid is using a laser version. So he's not shooting an actual physical round, he's shooting a laser round out. Just a pure laser, just out of it. I thought it was like a physical round, but I guess I was wrong. I guess it was a laser rather than just a regular railgun. The fight between Law and Kid again against Big Mom continues. Kid's Punk Cornadillo attack is revealed to have broken Big Mom's right arm. Big Mom heals herself by using her abilities to turn her broken bones into homies. How did I not know that? So when those voices were saying, "Yes, Mama," she used her soul ability to turn her own broken ribs into homies. When she was saying, hold on, let me go back. Hold on. When she says, "Here, I'll give you life," feels like I cracked some ribs too. Gotta watch out for Trafalgar's moves. They're dangerous. Here, I'll give you life. Come back to me, Bones. When she did that, I thought she was just, kind of being theatrical with it. But no, she used her soul abilities to turn her own bones into homies so that they could mend themselves. Wow. Man, Big Mom kind of broken. If she gets any broken bones, she can turn her broken bones into homies so that they don't impair her. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I'm kind of interested in seeing more applications of her soul ability. Continuing on, Big Mom uses a new move called Mazer Saber against Kid and Law, and I told you it was an offshoot of Mazer Cannon, which instead of it shooting a laser out, it turns it into a laser sword. Big Mom uses her powers to create a giant female homie out of living flames and lightning to attack Kid and Law. Now, this is called Misery. She is formed from the Mazer Saber combination of Prometheus, Hera, and Napoleon. takes on the form of a giant genie-like woman composed of flames and lightning. She has long flowing hair, a pointy nose, and sharp nails. Lightning forms bracelet-like circles around her wrists, and the bottom half of her body is one long tail without legs because it's still connected to the Mazer Saber. Loyal to Big Mom and gleefully burns down her enemies. Misery's size and power allow her to easily crush buildings. She is able to use both fire and lightning in her attacks and can quickly move around by flying. So that is Misery. Law uses an ultimate attack that greatly injures Big Mom and creates a large hole in Onigashima as well as a large crater near the flower capital. Kid uses his powers to create a giant railgun and blast Big Mom with it. The fight between Yamato and Kazenbo continue. Their fight was briefly interrupted by Law's sword. So that is chapter 1039. And it just shows just how strong Law actually is. I know a lot of people said that it wasn't really necessary for it didn't seem necessary for Oda to show the impact and effect his puncture wheel had on the environment rather than just showing it what it did to Big Mom. But I felt it was necessary because if you show just how destructive something is to an environment, you can only imagine what it could mean to a person receiving that attack as well. So if Law's puncture wheel was able to create a ginormous crater inside of the Wano's mountain range, so big that you can see it from the air, and it's still massive, then imagine what that attack feels like to an individual receiving that at point-blank range. To even someone as powerful as Big Mom, it is shown that it has actually hurt her. So, fairly interesting. So that's the end of chapter 1039, onwards to chapter 1040. Titled, Wasted Words on Young Ears. And as this is going on, Kid is still using his darn punk to shoot directly into Big Mom. Now, it's a sustained. Because the thing that's getting me with this panel is I'm looking at this panel, and the reason why I thought that this railgun had a physical round in it is because in chapter 1040, there's this one panel where it shows this blast hitting Big Mom directly in her chest, and I thought that this was an actual physical round that hit Big Mom instead of it just being a laser round. That's why I always thought that this was just like a physical ammunition-based attack from Kid, but apparently this is just a laser. But as this is going on, it shows that Big Mom is resisting this attack and keeping herself from falling into the hole. And then Big Mom tries to use her soul focus on both Kid and Law, saying, "Make your choice. You can select the fate you'll suffer the moment I deflect this thing back at you. You can give me 50 years of your lifespan, or you can keep it and serve me. Life or slavery." And all the Beast Pirates who are around, I was all like, it's a soul focus. But you should get away from her, boss. And as this is happening, the souls of the Beast Pirates are being ripped from them as they go towards Big Mom. And then they're screaming as their life force is being pulled from them. "No creature on the brink of death is this powerful. She's terrifying. Captain, get out of there. Go," says one of the members of Law's crew. But Kid and Law are standing there around Big Mom, and nothing's happening. And then Kid says, why should we be afraid of the weak words of some old hag who's outlived her welcome? Why did I say outcome? Why should we be afraid of the weak words of some old hag who's outlived her welcome? And then Law says, "Re-room, I can only imagine how hideous your death scream will be." And then the people spectating say neither of them is losing even a second of his lifespan. Do they not have a single ounce of fear for the Emperor of the Sea? And clearly, no, they don't. Jinbei has already shown us that Big Mom's soul abilities do not affect those who have no fear. Jinbei was the first person to show us that it was possible. And now we have Kid and Law who have shown that they have absolutely no fear of Big Mom. Therefore, her soul pocus ability will not work on them either. So that edge that she was hoping that she'd be able to take from Law and Kid is now gone. Sure, she's ripping the life out of all the people that are around her, and they're slowly making its way to her. But the lives of the people that she's trying to take out right now, both Law and Kid, not affecting them at all. And then Law uses Re-Room, which we will get to in a moment, because that's another side of another ability, because we find out that later in this chapter that his Re-Room ability is basically him taking his regular operating room and creating a quiet zone, which is all obviously a homage to Don Quixote Rocinante. And it allows him to create a room that completely robs that room of all silence. But he uses Re-Room, and everyone is saying neither of them is losing even a second of his lifespan. Do they not have a single ounce of fear for the Emperor of the Sea? And then Misery comes up behind Law, and she says, "I'll save you, Mama!" And Law takes this Re-Room and then throws it in the direction of Big Mom. This isn't like his regular room where he summons it around him and then it pops up. No, this is a room that he can throw and put in a different direction and then cause it to expand instead. So now, here's the thing. Here's the thing that gets me about this Re-Room, though. If he is able to cause his room to go in a certain direction and then expand, his ability to use his devil fruit at long ranges has increased significantly. Because normally when we see Law use his room, he just summons it in his hand and then it expands around him to as far as he wants to go. But now this Re-Room is telling us that he can make rooms and then make it go in a direction before it can expand. Stella, it's good to see you. Karma, good to see you as well. And CJ, good to see you also. So now Law is showing us that he can make his room be turned into a projectile that he can send in a direction. Now the question is, can he teleport inside of his room with it being outside, with him being a far distance away from him? Questions for later. But he says, this is what my savior would have done. And Kid says, don't you know when to give up the Ghost Emperor? Let me give you a hand and send you on your way to hell. And as he says this, Law's room expands, and Law says, silence. And then in that instance, we see that, hey, what? Huh? All the sound vanished, says some of the Beast Pirates. Then Law says and tells us that this technique extinguishes all sound created by your influence. And we have a little panel here where we see Rocinante on the side, telling us that Law learned to make his rooms completely silent now, which pretty much robs Big Mom of the ability to give commands to her homies, and also makes it so that she can't say life or leave or life of slavery or use any of her moves that can rip the souls out of people anymore. Her ability to give audible commands to that pretty much governs a lot of her abilities has been completely cut off. She can't speak. Her homies can't hear her. Misery can't hear her. Nothing that responds to her voice can hear her at all. She's been completely cut off by all things that respond to her voice alone. Completely. And then as Misery bears down on Law, Law says, I can't hear you. Because Big Mom's trying her best to scream, but no one can hear her. And as Kid uses Darn Punk again, here's one thing that I kind of misconstrued when I looked at this panel when I originally read it. When I looked at this, I was wondering why Law was jumping into the air, but I really didn't say anything. I probably should have brought it up then. I was wondering why Law was doing this flip in the air, and it looked like there was two Miseries there, but no, that's not the case. Law slices Misery completely up the middle before Misery can actually bear down on him, while Kid continues to shoot Big Mom continues to shoot Big Mom with his darn punk railgun. So Law nonchalantly cut Misery in half down the middle while Kid continues to shoot Big Mom down into the hole. All while Law is maintaining this room that keeps all sound from getting to Big Mom. Didn't realize how low-key OP that silence is. It really is. When it comes to an individual like Big Mom, that many of her moves require her to call upon her homies in order for her to attack a certain individual, because we don't see Big Mom using moves without words. She's either calling Hera to do this, or Prometheus to do that, or formerly Zeus to do this, or Napoleon to do that. Now she's not able to do that anymore. Therefore, her homies and basically anything that required her voice activation has been completely negated because she can't give them anymore. So Law just fundamentally locked out almost all of Big Mom's abilities with her soul fruit. She can't intimidate people anymore. She can't say things to make people fear her so she can rip their souls out with soul pocus. She can't call on her homies. She can't use any of her attacks because that requires her to call her homies. Law just nerfed Big Mom by making her shut up. That's scary. Law just nerfed Big Mom, one of Big Mom's most powerful ways of being powerful, aside from her, durability and monster strength, by making her completely silent and cutting her off from her ability to use her abilities. Now, it's not to say that she's permanently unable to use her powers. I'm pretty sure she could use it. But most of her powers require her to say certain things or voice activate them, or say life or leave or call on her homies or anything like that. A lot of it requires her to speak these things. With Law causing her to be quiet, he has locked Big Mom out of some of her most powerful abilities. Law, there's a reason why Law's Ope Ope no Mi is called the ultimate devil fruit, and it's not because it can grant certain people eternal life. Law has shown us that there's more to the Ope Ope no Mi than just, creating rooms and having full control. It's even scary. Can we just talk about how scary Law's devil fruit is? If you are in his room, you are subject to whatever he does in that room. You have to be someone with supremely powerful haki in order to resist it. Was the room too small for her to break, or why did she not break it? Karma, the thing is, Law's room are not physically tangible. That's the scary thing. Law's rooms are not physically tangible. That means you can walk in and out of his rooms easily. You can't break them because they're not physical. It's a spatial type of power. It's not a physical type of power. He can affect things physically inside the room, but it's not a physical room that you can just break outside of. It's not like it's not like a physical dome or a physical circle that you can just punch your way out of. It is, what is it? Metaphysical? It's not physical at all. Because Law can walk in and out of the rooms. People can walk in and out of the rooms. Like back when Law was facing off against Smoker and his crew back on Punk Hazard, Smoker was saying hey, stay out of the range of his room. Don't go inside of his room. If you're inside of his room, then you're basically like a patient on an operating table. That leads us to believe that it's not the fact that Law's rooms are physical, because they're not. It's the fact that Smoker knows that you can go out. You can go out of Law's rooms. They're not physical. You can go in and out of it. You forgot Kid was attacking her while she was in there? Yeah, exactly. So The fact that Law's abilities allow him to affect basically anything he wants to in a set area that he chooses. And mind you, we've seen that his rooms can be absolutely massive. In Punk Hazard, he made it so large that he cut off the upper half of an entire mountain while he was saying that he broke the gears after defeating Virgo. Well, actually, it was the moment he defeated Virgo. He sliced through Virgo, and in that instance, he sliced through the sad containers and sliced through the entire mountain because he created a ginormous mountain-sized room in Punk Hazard. And then in Dressrosa, during the final bit of the fight with Doflamingo and Treble with Law and Luffy, we see that he's able to create a room that cannot be seen. He says it takes a little bit of his lifespan to create it, but he can create a room so big that no one who's on the inside can notice that it's been made. That's how he was able to, harm Doflamingo with a counter shock and teleport with each other. Teleport with himself and Luffy in the fight, but we didn't see him create a room. Because he made one so big that Doflamingo couldn't even see it. Matter of fact, let's do a little bit of Ope Ope no Mi dumpster diving, shall we? Because this devil fruit is just crazy powerful. Alright, so if I go down here, alright, so allows the user to manipulate and remodel the world around them as if by operating on it, by conjuring a blue translucent spherical force field of some sorts that is centered around the user, dubbed Room by Law. They gain control over everything inside that territory, from living beings, including themselves, to non-living things. As put by Smoker, the Ope Ope no Mi's user becomes the surgeon, their space the operating table, and those caught inside are the patients on the operating table. Examples of the ways wherein the user can surgically manipulate things in their room are swapping the locations of two targets to teleport them, levitating and moving objects of any size around akin to telekinesis, scanning targets, slicing objects apart without actual injury, and then reattaching the separate parts to other surfaces, transplanting personalities, permanently taking out people's organs without harm, which we've seen with him taking out his own heart, Caesar's heart, Monet's heart, Smoker's heart, creating electric shocks or energetic constructs to destroy people's bodies from the inside, and etc. As long as the user's chosen targets are inside their room, they are within range, and the user's techniques instantly reach them regardless of distance while bypassing external defenses. More specifically, inside his room, Law can perform long-range spatial slicing to cleanly sever flesh and bone without actually hurting the victim. People separated by this ability are not killed and can still feel their separate parts, regardless of the distance. Much like Buggy when he separates himself using the Berabero no Mi. Internal organs removed by this ability will become vulnerable and unprotected. The effects of this application of the Ope Ope no Mi persist even after Law disengages the room. Separated parts can be reassembled back to normal or be mixed up and attached in any manner the user sees fit, such as sticking someone's severed head onto other surfaces, including inanimate objects, or onto someone or something else's body. However, even if a victim gets reassembled back to normal, the possibility of said body parts splitting up once more with the appropriate injury still exists. This happened with Kinemon during the war against the Beast Pirates after Kaido pierced him with a sword in the spot his legs were first split by Law, a long time after his reassembling back in the Punk Hazard arc. Apparently, victims with Devil Fruit power still retain their abilities after being sliced into pieces by Law, but only parts with conscience, i.e. the head, seem to be able to access them while in this state, since parts such as the blood-pumping heart taken from Logia users have shown to be incapable of using their elemental defenses to protect the extracted organ, which is how Monet died. Devil Fruit users who have been split by this power will still feel the effects of seawater if one of their body parts has been submerged. When the cutting power is used on a non-living object, the effect will resort as a normal cut. And then we have his abilities to switch people with bodies. And then we have, while the ability to freely manipulate people, objects, and even abstract concepts within a defined space is the fruit's signature power, it is far from being its only one. Just like with Room, the user is capable of manifesting other energy-based constructs that work for a variety of purposes and grant massive versatility in combat. From its vast power over space. The Ope Ope no Mi gives Law the ability to manipulate space. That's basically what it can do. The user can release spatial energy in the form of high-voltage shocks that act like defibrillators or form electric blades that can bypass physical flesh, directly destroying internal organs, which we've seen happen with Doflamingo during their fight. Another similar technique involves the creation of a scanning light encompassing the entire room with the intent of locating specific objects inside it. For defense, the user can manifest transparent veils to protect themselves from incoming attacks, and we saw him use this when he was fighting with Kaido up on the top floor, up on the roof, when we saw all of the worst generation fighting Kaido and Big Mom. It is worth noting that the effects caused by this Devil Fruit's operations persist even if the user is rendered unconscious or restrained with Sea Stone, such as Nami and Sanji's minds remaining swapped, or Law, Smoker, and Monet still living with their hearts removed from their bodies when the user found himself in such condition. Also, it has been shown to be possible to use this ability in conjunction with armament hockey, as seen when Law was able to bypass Smoker's Logia defenses through his mess ability. And, of course, we know about the medicinal applications that this ability can use. One thing right here, once this fruit is awakened, the user gains the ability to apply space-altering properties on foreign objects through the use of special rooms. Those can be adhered to whatever they make contact with and do not require the user to be inside the operating field for techniques to be performed, unlike normal rooms. So now, since Law has awakened his Ope Ope no Mi, that means he can use all of his techniques pretty much without having to create a room in order to do it. Because that was the only limitation, if you can even call it a limitation. He now has awakened his Devil Fruit and now can use all of these techniques, presumably all of these techniques, without creating a pre-existing room to execute them. This directly addresses one of the fruit's biggest weaknesses, which is the stationary nature of its normal field of range. Law has essentially removed his weakness for this Devil Fruit. So while it lists the weakness here, it says the fruit's most obvious drawback is that the user of the Ope Ope no Mi can only use its powers within a specific spherical area that they have to summon themselves. So if the target moves outside the area, they are unaffected by its powers. It should be noted that when Law creates his room, it remains stationary until Law dismisses it and creates another one, indicating that the user may not be able to move the room once created, and that summoning multiple rooms at once is impossible. While a big enough room tends to be hard to notice, small ones can easily be detected, allowing an enemy to spot it and keep their distance. Law is required to complete hand gestures in order to use certain attacks, with Doflamingo being shown at least once blocking Law's mess technique by restraining his arm. Moreover, for Law to swap something or himself into a specific position inside of his room, he needs to somehow set up the positioning of the destination object in case there is nothing already present beforehand. A major weakness of this fruit is the usage of the fruit's ability depletes the user's stamina. And as we've seen with him using his awakened abilities, this is using even more. Sister brought me Oreos. I love Oreos. This results in situations where Law must avoid or rest after long or multiple enemy confrontations in order to use his powers further down the line. Overusage and exerting to the range limit can even result in shortening of the lifespan. And we know this because Law pretty much increased his room to a size where Doflamingo and Treble could not see it. Making it that big where they couldn't even see it, and that's how big it was, took a little bit off of Law's lifespan. The usage of the perennial Euthic operation in particular will cost the user his or her own life. So we know about that. So when we come down here, Awakening. Having achieved awakening of his ability, Law is capable of coating objects with the space-distorting essence of his devil fruit, allowing him to increase their size or make them phase through targets, so he can operate on said targets from the inside. Law primarily uses this application of his awakening in conjunction with his sword, from which he releases powerful internal shockwaves on his victims after piercing them. Can't wait to play as Law again in some new games in the near future. Look, CJ, I was having a discussion with some people in another Discord about all the things that we are being shown here in the Wano arc would make for a very, very awesome Pirate Warriors game. Like, we can get Awakened Kid, we can get Awakened Law, we can get the Toby Ropepo, we can get Kaido in his hybrid form, we can get Big Mom and all her new moves. It's like we can get Luffy using his Conqueror's Haki along with his attacks, and Ryuo. We can get all these different characters that we now know can use all these real sick moves, and Zoro using Conqueror's Haki with his attacks, and Enma. We can get all of this now. They just have to do it right. I feel like we may get another Pirate Warriors game, but I want them to take their time and actually do it right this time, because as much as I enjoyed Pirate Warriors 4, there are still some aspects of it that just really don't resonate with me. Like, I hate stamina limitations in a game where you're supposed to be going full tilt against whole enemies. The whole concept of giving stamina limitations to characters is entirely stupid in a game where you're supposed to be fighting an entire army. I just found that to be extremely dumb. So I would very much like to see them do away with that. I want to see them greatly improve on how you can level up characters, because in Pirate Warriors 4, the max level you could be was 18, and that is by far one of the most oddest levels to reach a max level at. So hopefully in the next Pirate Warriors game, they take the cues that made Pirate Warriors 3 so good and then make that into Pirate Warriors 5, and then expand the roster, expand the endgame content, expand the reasons of why you should play it more even after you've platinumed the game. They just need to go down the line. They didn't even do Doflamingo's Awakening right, so don't get y'all hopes up. I mean, they did enough. They did enough, but I feel like his awakening was still hampered by the game's mechanics, Karma. I feel it was the game's mechanics and what they did with it that hampered his awakening in the game, and not necessarily them not doing his awakening justice, because they geared his awakening and the attacks around the game's mechanics and everything. And I feel like that is what caused it to be so limited. And Karma says, do not remove characters unless it's the Vinsmokes. They really had no purpose being there. Can we be honest? They had absolutely no purpose. 5 whole slots? Reiju, I don't mind. But I couldn't care less about Ichiji, Niji, and Yonji. They could have just been ultimate attacks for Judge. I mean, Judge is a character in the game, and his attack has all of Germa's double six attacking with him. Literally was no point. Pretty disappointed. He had 3 awakening moves, and they were all specials. Kind of weak, if you ask me. My thing is, Karma, is that when it came to Doflamingo's moves, I feel like his move set should have changed into his awakening moves. When you access his full force burst, I feel like it should have been. They should have changed his move set to him using his awakened abilities rather than his basic abilities, because I'm going to say this. I don't like the flying types in Pirate Warriors 4. I know I'm going off on a completely different tangent here, but I just want to say this. I don't like how they differentiated characters into types. Technique types, speed types, power types, and sky types. Technique types are basically kind of the weakest ones, because a lot of technique types in the game have like a limited airborne moveset, and they have this gimmick that just causes enemies to be drawn towards them. But some characters like Chopper are basically like one of the worst, absolute worst characters in the game, limited by their typing. I don't like the typing, because then you're basically saying that anyone who's basically a power type, they're the most powerful characters. And they're the ones that you should be playing all the time. It really doesn't give much reason for you to want to play as other characters if you see that one type is by far the most supreme out of everyone, and that's who you should be playing as, versus other types that are like, okay, he has a nice gimmick, but he kind of doesn't stand up against this character that can basically wipe out hundreds upon thousands of peoples in less than a couple of seconds. So I hope they get rid of typing characters to different categories. They need to get rid of that. They need to get rid of this limited leveling system and making it so that it's like, hey, can we get some more specials, more special abilities that come with leveling up our characters, like increasing our attack, increasing our defense, without having us to put in multiple points into one stat that says like, okay, you'll get 3 more points of attack increase if you go across 75 different attack nodes on this map. No, I want to see some attack range increase, attack speed increase, stuff that makes it so that your attacks have bigger AoEs or special effects. Like we don't have this special ability skills that you had in Pirate Warriors 3, such as, characters that uses poison. They have a skill that makes it so that more damage is done to characters who are already poisoned, like stuff like that. The only stat boosting skill we have in Pirate Warriors 4 is the ability, when it comes to special abilities, is Conqueror's Haki is more powerful. That's it. You don't get anything for Boa Hancock when she had a skill that made it so that enemies who are turned into stone suffer more damage. You don't have anything like that. You don't have anything like Anel had when he could charge his meter faster with certain attacks, and that's a special skill. That needs to come back. But that's a whole nother conversation for another time. They just need to look at Pirate Warriors 3, aside from the RNG aspect of the game, because people still hate the coin searching aspect of the game, where it was just basically RNG. Do what Pirate Warriors 3 did. Leave out the coin system, but improve on it. Because Pirate Warriors 4 should have been Pirate Warriors 3, but better. But it's not. They tried to reinvent the wheel. And that's what made it the less bought iteration of the Pirate Warriors series. It wasn't as successful as it was in the previous one, even though they added new characters. Were King and Queen in Pirate Warriors? Nope, not at all. And since they stopped supporting Pirate Warriors 4, they just basically stopped giving more characters. And it's kind of janky how they handled the DLC for Pirate Warriors 4. Like, you got the worst generation with Mad Monk Urouge, Drake, and Killer. Then you got Judge, along with Cracker and Smoothie. And then you got Odin, Kiku, and Kinemon. But that's it. No new stages, no new skills, no new reasons to play end modes, no new missions or anything like that. They just added characters onto an already pre-existing format. And people who have already platinumed the game, I mean, there was not much else reason for them to keep going. It's essentially like buying a skin in Marvel's Avengers. What are you buying it for? You're just going to be doing the same exact thing over and over again. You just got a new coat of paint on. But like I said, conversation for another time. I just feel like maybe Pirate Warriors should take a break and let another licensed Muso be made. We need a Naruto Muso. We need a Bleach Muso, especially with Bleach coming back this year. I would love to see Castlevania. Star Wars and Mario is on the Koei Tecmo's CEO's agenda of games that he wants to make next. So the sky's the limit. I'm sure we have Fire Emblem Warriors, the 3 houses, that's releasing this year. But if it's anything like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, I fear for people who think the frame rate is going to be good. How do you make a game for the Switch and not optimize it? Age of Calamity is horrendously bad with its frame rate because of that reason. Age of Calamity is only available on the Switch, but you couldn't optimize it so it could run smoothly on the Switch? Definitely need a Bleach one. I will preach it. I will sing it out to the mountaintop that we needed a brand new Bleach game. Last one we had was Soul Resurrection on the PS3. And some people may see it as a Musou, but I don't. I feel like it's more arcadey. But I feel like a new Bleach game is really in order, especially with them covering the 1,000-Year Blood War. I mean, you could have the most prolific Soul Reapers. Sorry, I was listening to something in the background. You have the most prolific Soul Reapers. You have the Arankar. You can have the Stern Ritter. You can have all these different characters who are pretty much doubly powerful right now. But I digress. We need to continue on. Having awakened his ability, we're going back to the Ope Ope no Mi, and then we're going to go back to this chapter. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys, because I'm very passionate about things that I like, and I feel like if you're going to do something right, you need to do it to the best of your ability. But going back to the Ope Ope no Mi, awakening. Having achieved awakening of his ability, Law is capable of coating objects with the space-distorting essence of his devil fruit, allowing him to increase their size and or make them phase through targets, so he can operate on said targets from the inside. Law primarily utilizes this application of his awakening in conjunction with his sword, from which he releases powerful internal shockwaves on his victims after piercing them. Law also has the ability to create spatial fields that, once tossed at a specific target, will influence them with environmental effects dictated by the user. Through this application, Law has developed at least one technique in homage to Don Quixote Rocinante, his childhood savior. So right here, his awakening allows him to create spatial fields that can basically do anything he tells them to now. We don't know to what extent, but we know that he can create rooms that he can manipulate and throw rather than create from the ground up. That said, Law claims that he is not yet used to this ability and its huge consumption of stamina, hence him relegating it to a last resort move should his regular techniques fail him. So as he's saying, and as we understand it, he's achieved awakening, but he hasn't perfected it yet. With the help of Kid, they defeated Big Mom, but he hasn't achieved perfection with his awakening yet. Imagine Law perfecting his awakening where it barely uses up any stamina, akin to how Itachi was able to keep his Sharingan eyes active almost constantly and very rarely shutting them off. Imagine Law being able to use his awakened abilities and it doesn't use up as much stamina, and he's perfected it now. His power over space will be fundamentally unchallenged unless a person's Haki is supremely powerful enough, as Kaido and Big Mom Big Mom at once has shown. Kaido, though, his Haki is apparently stronger than that. So if I go down here, Puncture Will, one of Law's most destructive techniques, Law positions himself on top of a down target and pierces through them with Kikoku, pinning their body down to the floor as his sword continuously extends downward and phases through the ground or whatever it is in its way. Once Kikoku reaches a certain depth, Law releases a powerful shockwave that implodes everything solid pierced by the blade, causing massive damage to living beings and create huge holes in rocky surfaces. This move was powerful enough to cause a massive crater near the Flower Capital and was first used against Big Mom, visually injuring her to an extreme degree. Google time dilation goes back to, why do I keep wanting to say dilation? Ditillation. That's not a word. Time dilation goes back to Einstein's theory of special relativity, which teaches us that motion through space actually creates alterations in the flow of time. Interesting. Science is amazing, isn't it? This move name follows the same scheming as Shock Will, with Puncture Will literally meaning puncture will. A puncture is another word for a centesis, the procedure of removing fluid from a body through an injection needle. And then we have Re-Room, another variation of room. Law creates a spherical space above his hand and then tosses it in a tosses it on a target. Once our room is it says re-room. Once re-room is set, Law applies a specific effect to it that affects the target inside. Unlike a normal room, re-room will remain attached to its target and may expand in size in order to keep its applied effect in place. So that explains why when we go through this chapter, and after Law sliced through Misery and Big Mom is punched straight through Onigashima, and in the process she uses her nails to scratch into one of the bombs that Kazenbo is affected by, because in this instant, Kazenbo, which was already massive and going up against Yamato, has shrunken in size. So it was big, but the blast caused it to reduce itself in size. And as Big Mom falls out of Onigashima, she still has the re-room around her. And in the process, she's going through falling, saying, "Oh, darn it, of all the luck, you got the whole world on this great era of piracy. Easy for you, you're dying. But when those kids rise up all over the world, we'll be the ones who have to deal with them." And as this is being said, we see the Straw Hats, we see the Samurai, we see Chopper, we see Zoro still bleeding on the ground, and he starts to fall off of Onigashima because of this massive explosion. Just tell us about the One Piece before you die. Does it exist? It better. And it shows Raizo, and as she's falling through this area, she says, "What is it? Where is it? Some of it's in this country too, isn't it? I'm so close. Kid, Law, they'll pay for this. Don't you dare assume that this will kill me." Now, when I'm going to touch back on what this ability re-room mentions, it says that even if the target starts to move, the effect around the target will still apply to them. So when Big Mom fell into this massive crater along with a whole bunch of different bombs and explosives, when she fell into that explosion, I want to assume, hit Big Mom. And since it hit Big Mom, the effect of Big Mom and the whole room around Big Mom not being encased in a soundless void, that applied to the explosion as well, because she ended up being engulfed in it. So in this process, the room expanded to not only cover Big Mom, but also cover the explosion that touched her. That's the reason why when the explosion goes off, the re-room expanded to a size that encompassed the entire explosion and kept it silent. So when Big Mom got caught up in this explosion, the re-room expanded to not only cover Big Mom, but the explosion as well, which is why it expanded and covered it completely, and all you hear is just silence and the people laughing in the distance in the flower capital. It may sound ridiculous, but given the fact that this is Law's fruit we're talking about, and it essentially allows him to do whatever he wants with these rooms, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that that's exactly what happened. So when we go to this, re-room will remain attached to its target and may expand in size in order to keep its applied effect in place. So when he said silent, re-room silent, Law makes his re-room soundproof, preventing any direct or indirect sound produced by the target from leaving its designated space. So that means that when she fell into this room, the effect of re-room made it so that anything that went into that space would be rendered silent. So when she fell into the explosion went into the room. And since the effect of the room is for it to be silent, the room expanded to make sure that all of the explosion was silent as well. Anything that enters into that room is subject to the command that Law gives it. It kind of reminds me of Star and Stripes' New Order quirk from My Hero Academia. Anything that she gives a command to is subject to whatever she commands it to, regardless of what it is. So when Law's re-room silent says that anything that goes into this room is completely quiet, even if the smallest iota of an explosion were to enter into the room reads it as, oh, this explosion is a part of the room now. But now it needs to expand in order to cover all of it so it can remain silent. Whoop! Now the entire explosion that not only engulfed Big Mom, but also blew up half of the mountain range of Wano has now been encased in this silent dome. That's broken. Think about the commands that Law could give to that. Not just, he just gave it silent. He just gave it the command of being silent, and anything that enters into that room is rendered silent as well, and it expands to make sure that anything that enters into it is now completely silent. So imagine if he said, re-room, electrify. Anything that's in that room gets electrified. And if that person grows in size, or if more people enter into it, then the room continues to expand until a massive area is just constantly being electrified. Who knows what Law can do with his re-room? To call this a broken devil fruit power is not even scratching the surface of it. He can do basically anything he wants. This is the new order quirk of devil fruits. Law, going back to silent. Good to see you, Grant. And M. Perez, sorry I didn't acknowledge you before. My sincerest apologies. Silent. Law makes his re-room soundproof, preventing any direct or indirect sound produced by the target from leaving its designated space. This technique is a homage to Rocinante, Law's mentor, who was the former user of the Nagi Nagi no Mi and had access to a similarly named move. Law first used this move against Big Mom with the intent of silencing her during Soul Pocus, rendering it ineffective against Law and Kid's crewmates. And then it's just called silence here. So that's pretty much the extent of what happened with Law and all of them. And as this explosion happens and Big Mom is engulfed and caught up in this massive explosion due to all the armory bombs and everything that's in the almost everything in the armory falling down in there with her, it blows up with her inside, leaving Big Mom's fate unknown, but leaving Kid and Law the winner against the Yonko. This chapter 1040, gave us our very first major defeat of a Yonko in the time skip. Now, you can count Whitebeard being defeated at Marineford, but it's kind of like, well, Whitebeard's killed. We don't say he's been defeated, because even then, when he died standing, and that's something that not a lot of people can say they've done. So for Whitebeard, he's the exception. He died standing. He wasn't defeated, because when you think about it, Whitebeard really wasn't defeated either, because he gave one last middle finger to the Marines, saying like, hey, One Piece does exist, and therefore spurning even more pirates to go out there in the world, causing even more trouble for the Marines. So Whitebeard still kind of managed to come out on top, even though he died. So this chapter ushers in the defeat of Big Mom, with Law and Kid becoming the victors. Now, when this news, and this will reach the outside world, when this news reaches the outside world, it's going to change how things are done at Whole Cake Island. It's going to make everyone question everything. All the territories that are protected and ruled over by Big Mom, people are going to be trying to go after it, which I feel like all of Big Mom's children are going to try their best to defend, but who knows how long that's going to stand. But Law and Kid, their notoriety is going to go up. Because it's one thing to defeat someone as powerful as Doflamingo and have your bounty increased. It's another thing entirely to defeat a Yonko who is seen as one of the 3 greatest powers in the world. Well, you might as well call them 2 now, because the warlords are no longer a thing. But it's another thing to defeat one of the most powerful pirates we've ever seen in the series. That type of notoriety, that's going to carry some massive weight for both Kid and Law right now. And as that's going on, both, how does a Yonko lose their title? Death? We don't know. That's the thing. We only know as much as when we heard about how Blackbeard became a Yonko. We only know he's been acknowledged as a Yonko because he usurped Whitebeard's territory, and he had a head start on it because he been with Whitebeard so long, so he knew all of his territory and therefore took it over. But we don't know how the Yonko system works. We know that Yonko exist. We know that there's a way that you can become a Yonko, but we don't know how the title is passed or how the title is lost. Death is one way to make yourself a former Yonko, but I don't think it's the only way. But like I said, we know next to nothing about how the Yonko system itself was formed, how it works, how people are recognized as Yonko and acknowledged as Yonko. We don't know how deep this Yonko system is, except for there's only been 4 at any given time. We don't know how it started. We don't know how the inner workings of it are. How you proclaim yourself as a Yonko. Does the world proclaim you as a Yonko? Do other Yonko acknowledge you as a Yonko and therefore you're known as a Yonko? We don't know. And Big Mom is the last member of the old era like Whitebeard and Roger. Exactly. Because in the next chapter, we find out just how long she's been around and even how long Kaido has been around. Which means that Kaido has been a Yonko at possibly a shorter time than Big Mom has. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Law and Kid are fundamentally tired from their fight with Big Mom, and it shows that Yamato is speaking to Momonosuke, who's outside, because that explosion, that big puncture wheel that Law did, allowed the armory to be exposed to the outside, and therefore allows Yamato to be able to see Momonosuke. And apparently, the same bomb that Big Mom scratched on her way down through the hole, that bomb opened up a ginormous hole in the bottom half of Onigashima, with the rest of them being frozen, thankfully. And we don't see Kazenbo anywhere we don't see Kazenbo, the drawing that Kanjuro created. We don't see it anywhere with Yamato. So Kazenbo is no longer a factor that we need to worry about. But she's speaking to Momonosuke, and Momonosuke said, "I'm glad you're still well. I cannot leave my current task, however, so hear out what I have to say. Zunesha is very close by." And then Yamato says, like, "What? The elephant from Odin's journal?" And then we get the news that, indeed, a companion of Joy Boy who committed a crime 800 years ago. So during the Void Century, Zunesha was a companion of Joy Boy. So if we go here, and we go to like the short synopsis of chapter 1040, Big Mom withstands Kid's laser blast and tries to use Soul Pocus, which fails to affect Kid or Law due to their lack of fear. Law then creates a soundless area, much like Corazone's Devil Fruit power, around Big Mom, and as Kid forces her down a hole, Big Mom is left unable to call her homies to save her life. She lands in the armory and inadvertently triggers a bomb, which causes Kazenbo to wither away and blows away the remaining ground behind her. Big Mom then proceeds to fall all the way to the Wano mainland, where she is left defeated in a huge explosion. The fighters around Law and Kid are left in awe and jubilation at their victory over an Emperor of the Sea. The hole created by Big Mom allows Momonosuke to reunite with Yamato, and Momonosuke says that Zunesha is calling out to him, revealing that the elephant was once Joy Boy's companion. So if we go down to the quick references, chapter notes. Law and Kid's fight against Big Mom continues and concludes. Kid's attack injures Big Mom, but she continues to withstand it. Big Mom uses her Soul Pocus to try and take the lifespan of nearby members of the Beast, Heart, and Kid Pirates, but Law and Kid are unaffected. You spent hours reading 3 months worth of One Piece. So good to binge read it again. Missed so much. The Kid Law and Big Mom fight is one of my favorites. Grant, I'm so glad you caught up. Big Mom uses her Soul Pocus to try and take the lifespan of nearby members of the Beast, Heart, and Kid Pirates, but Law and Kid are unaffected. Law uses a new technique inspired by his benefactor Rocinante that silences Big Mom. Kid's attack blasts Big Mom down to the hole created by Law. And Law bisects Misery at the same time. And we're just going down the list here. Big Mom passes through the weapons vault and accidentally sets off one of Yamato's frozen bombs, further injuring herself. So not only was Big Mom injured by the puncture will of Law, and then harmed more by Kid using his blast to blast her down through the floor, but she ends up harming herself even more by inadvertently blowing up a bomb by trying to grab onto something. Big Mom falls into the crater on Wano country alongside other explosives, where she falls victim to another much bigger explosion, which defeats her. Before her defeat, Big Mom cursed Roger for starting the Great Pirate Era and implied that One Piece in some form may be found in Wano country. Kid and Law are announced the winners of this battle. The explosions in the weapons vault destroys the lower portion of Onigashima and is felt throughout most of it. Kanzenbo gets directly hit by the explosion and shrinks down in size. The ground beneath Zoro crumbles and he begins to fall off the island. Fukurokuju collapses from dehydration in his fight against Raizo. Yamato manages to protect herself and the remaining bombs in the armory from the explosion set off by Big Mom. So while the explosion goes off and inside of the armory, Yamato created a big ice shield that shielded not only herself but the remaining bombs, keeping those bombs from setting off and blowing up pretty much the majority and pretty much the rest of Onigashima right there. So very smart thinking on Yamato's part there. Yamato approaches Momonosuke through a hole caused by the explosion as he continues to pull Onigashima away from the flower capital. Can we just talk about Momonosuke? We still don't know what he looks like since he's turned 28 years old, but this dude who fundamentally had a direct fear of heights, had just barely grasped the concept of using flame clouds, is now by himself pulling the entire island of Onigashima away from the flower capital. Now, this is also partly due because Kaido's flame clouds have weakened, and Kaido himself has started to weaken as well. But Momonosuke has come a long way from being that small, scared child at the bottom of the waste dump inside of Punk Hazard to this 28-year-old who we still don't know the full size of giant dragon. Because yeah, we know he looks like Odin, but he has come a long way from being this scared child to this grown adult who is still trying to figure things out, but has resolved himself to save the life of everyone in the flower capital so much that he's pulling an entire island. Because let's not just really sugarcoat what this is, because the flame clouds do not make an island. The flame clouds that Kaido has around Onigashima does not make the island itself less heavy than it already is. It's still an island, and Momonosuke is pulling that entire island. Now, mind you, since he's a dragon, I'm pretty sure he has some additional strength, since he's like I want to call him a pseudozoan, because the devil fruit he has is not an official one, it's an artificially made one. So he's basically like a pseudozoan. But can we just not sugarcoat over how Momonosuke is pulling an entire island by himself? It's still an island. It's still massive. It still should be weighty, but he's still managing with all of his strength to pull it away from the flower capital. So props to the little dude. Well, can't call him little dude anymore since he's literally 1 year younger than me. Props to the guy. He's doing the thing. He's doing exactly what his father would have done. So I'm proud of Momonosuke for all the things that he's achieved. Yama approaches Momonosuke through a hole caused by the explosion as he continues to pull Onigashima away from the flower capital. Momonosuke reveals that Zunisha was a companion of Joy Boy, and the crime it committed occurred 800 years ago, which is pretty much, the whole era of the Void Century. And that's all the major details there. So that's it for chapter 1040. Now let's move on to the last chapter we got. And this one is actually a pretty good chapter, one good for pretty much all parties involved, Luffy and Kaido. Here it starts with Momonosuke saying, I spoke with Zunisha once before, but only for a moment. And this is back when they were on Zou, during that time when they were introducing themselves to the Minks and saying, like, I'm glad you're alive, Lord Momonosuke. And we find out that the Minks were allied with the Kozuki clan all this time. He says, so I do not know the truth of the matter. And then it shows that Zunisha is standing between the world government. Actually, it's not standing between the world government. It's actually making its way towards Wano. So it has the warships of the world government making their way towards Wano, but Zunisha is directly behind them, with apparently Zunisha speaking to Momonosuke saying, Momonosuke, I am awaiting your orders. I have come to join the fight at your side. So if Momonosuke says get rid of any Marines or any world government ships that are making their way towards Wano, they're getting gone. They're getting destroyed. If Zunisha versus Jack was any indication of how powerful it is, even though it's like 800 years old or over 800 years old, those warships are not getting out of there alive. And then Yamato says, that's incredible. You can actually talk to the elephant. It's just as Oden anticipated. You are the one who will guide the world to the dawn. Where am I reading the summaries? I'm reading the summaries from the official One Piece wiki. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and put where the summaries will go, where the summaries I'm about to read from, right there for you. So if you want to read the same summaries I do, because when I go over the different devil fruit abilities of people and their skills and abilities, I'm reading from the official wiki that's been created for One Piece. That's where you go for all your information, and that's where a lot of information I did not know about One Piece actually came from. That and Viver cards from the Library of Ohata, because through the Library of Ohata, I found out that Sengoku was the only Marine that we know of that can use all 3 types of haki. Like, that surprised me that Sengoku can use Conqueror's haki. There is a Marine that can use Conqueror's haki. That shocked me. So thank you, Library of Ohata, for that information. But as this is going on, we find out that Momonosuke's read his journal, but apparently Oden tore out a page, like the last page. He tore out the page with the most crucial part, and Momonosuke is wondering, why would he tear out that part? What did he and Roger's crew see on that final island that made them laugh? I don't understand what the goal is. Father was not a prophet. If he were still alive now, would he really still say open Wano's borders? The long summary feels like it's longer than the chapter. Yeah, that's why I go for the short summaries, because you get a rough idea of how things go. And if you want to read the chapters for yourself, then even that will take a shorter amount of time than the actual long summaries. Because good Lord, is it long. It goes into everything to describe everything. It goes into great detail. But going through this, he's wondering, why would his father really, if my father was still alive now, would he really still say open Wano's borders? I am not smart enough to understand. If it would mean exposing the people of Wano to danger, I do not wish to open the borders. So that's Momonosuke's mindset. He's thinking of what I was thinking when the world government said they were going to try and take over Wano and claim it for themselves in the pursuit of order. If Kaido was defeated, but that's only if they can get Wano's borders open, though. But here we have Momonosuke, and he's actually starting to second guess himself and wonder if if me opening the borders will expose Wano to danger, such as the world government or whoever wants to make their way into the island to take things for themselves, then he doesn't want to open it. And then he says, I am simply a coward, Yamato. And as this is going on, we see that Fukurokuju has completely fallen to Raizo. They both have been engulfed in flames, and Fukurokuju is defeated, with Raizo now finally being the victor. And I'm just so glad. Still can't believe they only brought 4 ships. See, that's the thing, though, Ogata-san. When Kizaru was, before the whole events of Wano popped off, such as the talks between Big Mom and Kaido trying to get into contact with one another, Kizaru once said that, do you want me to go over there to Wano to try and squash this thing that's happening right now between Big Mom and Kaido? Do you want me to go handle that? And Akainu said, no, because we don't know enough about Wano. So them sending 4 ships just tells me they don't know enough about Wano to think that to send like an entire fleet. They only sent like 4 ships because they said they don't know anything about what's going on in Wano. They don't know about the strength of the samurai. They don't know how hardy the people of Wano are. They have next to no knowledge of the strength of Wano. So they just sent fodder, basically. And we don't even know if there's anyone important on the ships. We just know that there's just ships there. For all we know, Rob Lucci could be on one of those ships, which kind of doesn't bode well for him if Zunisha tries to attack them. Because Rob Lucci may be the only one. Rob Lucci, Kaku, and Stussy, who are also around each other right now, they could be the only ones who get out of there alive. But still, it doesn't surprise me that the world government would only send 4 ships because they don't know what they're getting themselves into. Usually they do, and they just respond accordingly. But they know next to nothing about how strong the people of Wano and the country of Wano actually is. So, just send 4 ships. If it takes more, then we'll just send more. But Raizo versus Fukuro Kuju is finally over. We never have to see this fight go on for any more chapters. And Jinbei is there to see Raizo fall over as he continuously says, like, he's about to say it's hot, but he says, no, it's not hot at all. Because, you know, if Odin was able to sustain himself and survive that 1 hour in the Hour of Legends, then he can survive the flames as well, even though both he and Fukuro Kuju were basically engulfed in flames this whole time, just standing there still, holding each other with a paralysis jutsu. But Jinbei comes in saying, you there, samurai, why aren't you running? With him saying, you're with Sir Luffy. Must hurry, how careless of me, the preparations were almost complete. Then we cut to the treasure repository on the second floor, with Orochi still there with, basically Komurasaki. And he's like, Fukuro Kuju, where is that garbage ninja? What in the world is he doing? He's better not have run off to save his own skin. Was that shaking Kanjuro's work? I can only hope this is the end of it. And then Komurasaki continues to play on her shamisen, and Orochi gets mad because she's just casually playing while the whole island is just on in an uproar and everything is just going downhill from here. And he's like, why would you play at a time like this? Stop that. Put that instrument down with your pretentious mask. You always wear that stupid mask when you play. This is a moment of life and death. Take it off already. Are you really Komurasaki or a ghost? You were supposed to be dead. And she just continues to play as the ceiling that Orochi is standing under falls on him. And he's buried underneath it. And you see like a massive amounts of blood coming off of Orochi, and he's kind of wondering like, huh? I can't transform. I can't get free. And then Komurasaki says, you were so stunned you never even noticed, did you? I used nails of sea prism stone to ensure you could not turn into that monster. So somehow Komurasaki was able to get nails into Orochi that were small enough for him not to detect, but still potent enough for it to lock out his Devil Fruit abilities. Because, and I said this yesterday, the thing that we know about Sea Prism Stone is that the mere touch to a person with Devil Fruit powers, it causes them to lose all strength. Even a nail was enough for Law to be affected by it and for him to notice, oh snap, this is Sea Prism Stone and I can't use my powers right now. So either this nail was smaller than the nail that hit Law in the arm earlier in the Wano arc, or Orochi was just so enamored by being caught up in all these, he was so emotional that he just didn't notice that he was hit by it. Either one of those two things. But it still doesn't sugarcoat the fact that these nails have literally robbed Orochi of his ability to turn into his Yamata no Orochi form, and that would have freed him from underneath this rubble. And then he gets the reveal of how, strangely enough, that song you love, Moon Princess, was also the favorite of my father, Kozuki Oden, pretty much confirming to us that this has been Hiyori this whole time. Now, this makes me wonder just how in the world did Hiyori get onto Onigashima unprotected? Which makes me think maybe it was Hiyori that was there that healed up Kinemon and the rest of them. A lot of people were saying Enel, but like I said, Enel is a tall individual, and this person was a short individual way back when this person was tending to Kinemon and the rest of them, when Law teleported himself and the rest of the Akazaya 9 off of the roof when the supernovas were preparing to fight with Kaido and Big Mom. That could have been Hiyori this whole time. Because the individual we see that shadowed and we don't see the shape of is a small individual compared to Kinemon. And Hiyori is like a delicate small individual herself, and Kinemon is like a big dude. He's like, what, 7 feet tall? I think he's like 7 feet tall. He's about the same size as Brook. So this chapter confirms that this has been Hiyori this whole time. This isn't some fake. This is actually her. And she has orchestrated potentially what could be Orochi's demise. And he looks with utter horror on his face when she says, Father Kozuki Oden, and he just thinks there's absolutely no way. He's just stricken with absolute fear on it in his eyes. And Hiyori says, how could it possibly put a smile on my face? And then we get to the castle basement, and it turns out that this one moment where apparently Izo seemed like he wanted to speak with the CP0 members. No, he was actually fighting them because he manages to defeat one of the members of CP0, but in the process, he gets downed by the same CP0 member as well. And no, I remember back in chapter 996 when people thought Sanji heard Ivankov. That was really ridiculous when people were saying like, oh, that's Ivankov. He hears Ivankov. And I'm thinking, there's absolutely no way that Ivankov would have made his way to Wano when they're still worrying about what happened to Sabo during the declaration of war back on Marijois. There's absolutely no way Ivankov would have just come all the way to Wano. Absolutely no way. The theories people came up with way back when, it was ridiculous, but it was also funny to look through as well. But Izo takes out one of the members of CP0, whose name we find out is called Maha. But Izo ends up being slightly defeated as well. And then we see the bowler hat member of the CP0, whose name is not revealed. He looks at Izo, and then he looks at Maha, and he says like, no, darn you, Izo. You were determined to take us down with you then. Darn it, why is a leftover from Whitebeard's crew helping these kids out? I need to hurry and get Nico Robin. And then all of a sudden, he's called on his Denden Mushi, and he's given new orders. His orders before were to do nothing else except get Nico Robin and bring her back. Now, he's getting a direct order from Rob Lucci, which comes directly from the Gorosei themselves, who have issued a new edict. And that new edict is to kill Luffy at once. To kill Luffy right now. And I told you I had an idea of why I felt they wanted to kill Luffy right now, and I wanted to save it for this reflections, and I'm going to say this right now. Eliminate Straw Hat Luffy at once. And then he's wondering, what do you mean Straw Hat is fighting Kaido right now? You want me to interfere with Kaido's battle? That's impossible. And then he's being told they know full well it's impossible. It's a world-class battle, which is why it's so dangerous. These orders are meant to prevent the worst-case scenario, you understand? Because they don't want Kaido to lose. But they also I feel like they want to take out Luffy for a separate reason. And as he's being spoken to, Drake gets up. And he says, I can't die with nothing to show for it. And then he continues, why do they think this guy could take Luffy 1v1? Because CP0 are basically as cocky as CP9. They think just because they know the abilities of the six powers and they work for the world government that they are the supremely most powerful individuals out there and they can take on any pirate. But I don't know of them ever taking on any pirates that know how to use Conqueror's Haki, let alone know how to use Conqueror's Haki imbued attacks. And my thing is, this dude wants to go up there. He's being told to go up there and kill Luffy, not realizing that Luffy has been fighting Kaido this whole time. That alone should give him pause. It's not only Kaido that he should worry about. He should also be concerned with Luffy because Luffy is still fighting Kaido. When you're still fighting someone with the title of strongest creature in the world and you've been fighting this entire time, that should give you reason like, okay, this might not be as easy as I originally thought. Kaido is one matter, but the fact that he's still fighting this individual up on the roof right now, and their fighting has not stopped, must mean that this person is capable of fighting on par with Kaido, which means me killing this person might not go as well as I might hope. That alone should just shoot off some red flags. But we get more from his call saying, though it's a scenario they only know through rumor and hearsay. And that cuts off right there. So let me go ahead into my theory of why I think they want to kill Luffy right now. Because of the devil fruit they were talking about, saying that it's so that they only know so much about it in legends, and it's known as legends and rumors even to us. And its name has been changed because the world government doesn't want anyone to know its true name. It's because I honestly feel that Luffy's gum fruit is the fruit that they're talking about. It's not the fact that Luffy is the son of Dragon. It's not the fact that he has a potentiality to defeat Kaido. It's the fact that I believe that Luffy's devil fruit is actually something else other than him just being a rubber dude. And it has a separate name, which could change up the entire description of how we view his devil fruit as a whole. Because think about it. There has been multiple hints given to us about why Luffy has been alluded to as being this big, dangerous individual. First of all, we got the whole story of how Shanks stole the gum fruit from the world government ship, and we all have been wondering why they were transporting that fruit in the first place. And that wound up getting Who's Who imprisoned in Impel Down itself. Then we get the girl Say talking about how this fruit was once lost to time and we had no idea about it. I don't think it's Toki no Mi. I think it might actually be Luffy's fruit. And I could be entirely wrong, but let me roll with this. But then they're talking about how this fruit was lost to time and how there was a void in when it was lost. And that some people may say, like, well, the void of the Toki no Mi may be that fruit that they're talking about. But what if it's the gum fruit, but it's just the gum fruit is not actually called the gum fruit? We only call it that because that's the attributes that people mainly associate it with. Because that's as far as history knows it for. But the history that the world government knows it as is completely different, and that's why its name was changed. So it could be a completely separate fruit. It could have a completely different name, and then the concepts of the gum fruit would fundamentally change if we knew its true name. Now, let me roll with this, and I could be entirely wrong, but it just feels like there's so many things that are centering on Luffy right now. Like how we found out that his fruit was stolen first. Then we found out that the girls Say are going after a devil fruit, and they now want to kill Luffy immediately right now. Because Luffy is Joy Boy? That could very well be the case. But I feel like his gum fruit ability, his gum fruit has a different name, and therefore it has something. There's something about the gum fruit that just, like, for many years, people have ridiculed and looked down on Luffy, specifically his enemies, and found it laughable that this rubber boy would be a threat to them, and yet Luffy has beaten them every time. Because people look down on Luffy, like his enemies have looked down on Luffy, not just because he's young and he didn't know anything about the world at the time, but because they thought his fruit was ridiculous, and they were all beaten by this said ridiculous fruit. And yet every time, Luffy would beat them with this said ridiculous fruit. And we were like, what is it about Luffy? It's not his will to live, but why is it that this boy, this man who can just basically stretch his body and do all these things, is kind of a ridiculous power? Like, he stretches his body to do ridiculous things all the time. And it is really ridiculous. Then we see him use gears, which essentially allows him, like, forms like Deoxys from Pokemon. He has like a attack form. He has a speed form. He has a defense form in his Tank Man, but that was kind of situational. And we've seen that these are things that he's come up with this fruit. It's not something that was already pre-existent in the fruit. It's just something that Luffy made up. Luffy created his gears. These are not things that are pre-existent in the fruit themselves. It's Luffy created these gears. He created these types of different attacks. Second gear, third, and fourth gear. He created all of them to combat, like, the animals that were on Ruskaina during his time training with Rayleigh. Well, mainly gear fourth is what he did. He came up with gear second and third beforehand. But you understand what I mean. But what is it about the gum fruit that has people wanting to go after it? And we're finding out more history. Like, why was Burgess going after the gum fruit? Like Ogata-san said, it seems like Burgess knew it was important back in Dressrosa. Why? Why did Burgess want to go after that fruit? If he didn't, because he couldn't get the Maramura no Mi because Sabo had it. But then he resolved himself to get Luffy's gum fruit. Why? What is it about the gum fruit that would make someone from Blackbeard's crew want to go over it? Want to go and get it? What is it about the Gum Gum fruit that had the world government transporting it to where it was so important that it was being transported that a former member of CP0 was charged with guarding it? And when it was stolen by Shanks, that member was imprisoned into Impel Down, with them eventually being resolved to being executed one day before he escaped and joined Kaido's crew. And then CP0's there on Onigashima saying, like, above all deaths, we need to assure the death of one person. Now, this was before the elders said, we want you to kill Luffy right now. So they were resolving themselves to killing who's who beforehand. But now they're giving orders to kill Luffy right now. What is it about the Gum Gum fruit that has the world government on edge? That has CP0 on edge? What is it about Luffy that is causing the 5 elders themselves to say, we need this person dead right now? It doesn't matter what you're doing. Forget Nico Robin. So much for Enies Lobby Part 2. Forget Nico Robin. Go kill Luffy. Forget this person who can read poneglyphs and therefore learn the events of the Void Century. Go kill Luffy. Do you realize how serious that is? They resolved to kill everyone on Ohara, save for Nico Robin herself, because of the knowledge that they knew, because they could learn the things of the poneglyphs and learn the history of the world. They buster called Robin's entire family, entire village, entire civilization, with only her being the only one left. And they pursued her for years because of the knowledge that she learned and could learn, because she's just that smart. But now, and they spent years going after her. Even the events of Enies Lobby was them going to try and execute Robin because she's simply a member of the Lost Ohara family, of the Ohara clan, of everyone who lived on Ohara. Now it's come to the point where the world government, who was once dead set on getting her, no longer consider her an important person to go after now. Now it's Luffy. Why? It's not because he's the son of the leader of the Revolutionary Army. It's not because he's a D. It's not because he knows Conqueror's Haki or anything of that like. What is it about Luffy that makes the world government say, nah, forget about Nico Robin, get him, kill him right now. Kill him while he's fighting Kaido. Kill him while he's fighting the strongest creature in the world right now. Onigashima's crumbling around you. Some of your members have been downed. The other dude's playing shogi by himself with Bao Huang and one of the Marys just chilling. What is he doing? Just go kill Luffy right now. And this is an order from the highest tier of the world government, directly under Im-sama himself. Go kill Luffy now. What is it about Luffy that has the world government on edge now? What is it? It's not that 1% chance of survival that Basil Hawkins said that Luffy could always have and has allowed him to survive basically anything that should have killed him many hundreds of chapters ago. It's not his big charisma that can cause even his own enemies to suddenly join forces with him temporarily to achieve one goal. What is it about Luffy that causes them to say, we need you to kill Luffy right now? Didn't Im-sama stab a picture of Luffy along with Blackbeard and Shirahoshi? Yes. Actually, I believe he sliced up the pictures of Luffy and Blackbeard and then stabbed the picture of Shirahoshi, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be incredibly wrong about that. But yeah, it actually could have been, even if Bowler had successfully... Let me read through these first. Not gonna lie, I think it's impossible to guess the importance of Luffy's fruit. Yeah, it is. It is frankly impossible for me to guess the importance of it. I just don't know. We don't know. I could come up with theories all day, based on facts from what we know from chapters, mind you, not outlandish, ridiculous, and frankly stupid theories that I've kind of seen recently. I'm not going to note of, but I've seen some such hot takes. I'm wondering, okay, that is the stupidest thing I have ever seen. But I can come up with theories all day. But at the same time, we know nothing. You know nothing, Jon Snow. We don't know anything. So I could come up with theories all day, but I'm never going to be close to what Oda's going to come up with. So let's be honest here. I could say all this stuff and it sounds nice, but if Oda says something completely different, that just dismisses everything I said. We don't know the mind of Oda. We don't know what type of master world building he's about to give us in the month of March. We don't know. That's the scary thing. We don't know what March is going to bring us. We are only down to one fight. We are only down to one fight in Wano, and it's Luffy versus Kaido. That's the only major fight we got right now. Everyone else is done fighting. But let me go back. Grant Dolman is at Grant Dolman. This would be Sun Tzu's Art of War level tactics right there. Even if Bowler Hat successfully interferes with the fight, causing Luffy to lose, what does he think Kaido will do? Remember what happened with Higurashi? Yeah. If Bowler Hat Dude interferes with the fight with Luffy and Kaido, and Luffy ends up losing as a result, Bowler Hat Guy is dead. World government sending Bowler Hat on a suicide mission. Yeah. Had Oden not been interrupted by Higurashi's cloning herself to look like Momonosuke, then Kaido would have gotten the fight that he wanted. But since he was denied that and got a cheap shot that I feel like he really didn't want to give Oden, but still won the fight in the first place, kills Higurashi for interfering with the fight. Does this Bowler Hat guy think that things are just going to go smoothly? He'll probably think in his head, Kaido, I was given orders to kill Straw Hat Luffy. Now you don't need to fight anymore. Kaido's gonna just tear the dude in half. He's all like, I was having the fight of my life and you came and interfered. Kind of like how Katakuri went up to his sister when Flampe hit Luffy with like a sleep dart to make him drowsy, and that allowed Katakuri to get an unexpected hit on Luffy. He wound up scaring the daylights out of Flampe and her squad because they interfered. Don't interfere with a man's battle. Bowler Hat Guy's dead if he tries this. Luffy's most likely one of the lights to be snuffed out. Wouldn't be surprised. But he took the picture of Vivi with him to meet the Gorosei. Yeah, he did take the picture of Vivi. So that makes you wonder what happened to King Cobra, what happened to Vivi, what happened when we left Marijois. We're only told through words what happened. But I want to see what happened. Because the rest of the world is in uproar because of the events of the ending of the Reverie. And the declaration of war. I want to know what happened. Wouldn't it be nice if when this fighting is done with Wano, and as that's going forward, we cut back to moments before the final fight of Onigashima, and we find out everything that transpired in Marijois in great detail? Wouldn't that be great? I would love that. Because the more we find out about the revolutionaries and Marijois, the Gorosei, and Im-sama, the better. Because how long has it been since we've been in the Reverie? The beginning of last year, or maybe the year beforehand? It's been long since we've last seen Marijois itself, the events of the Reverie. These mysteries are stressing me out. Maybe they need Vivi and want to get rid of the other three. Either way, there are all types of big importance to them. So many questions left unanswered. I feel like even when we get done with Wano, there's still so many questions that we need to resolve. So many loose ends we need to tie up. The only loose ends I talk about are the ones in Wano. But there's still so many loose ends to tie up outside. And where's Blackbeard going? So many things. See, I could spend a whole nother hour just talking about the things that are going to happen in Wano itself. And I'm actually approaching 2 hours right now. Good Lord. Let's get back to the meat of the matter of this chapter. So he's saying he's being told that it's full well impossible for him to go up there and try and take out Luffy. It's a world-class battle, which is why it's so dangerous. 2018 was when the events of the Reverie were going on. We've been in Wano for a long time. But we cut to the basement with Izo thinking, what is it about that crew? And we're in the basement, and we got Hamlet with Usopp riding on his back, because Usopp has Kiku and Kinemon as they're trying to make their way out of Onigashima. And as this is going on, Nekomamushi is there with Wanda and Carrot as they're wondering how long is this island going to stay up. Frankie has managed to get to Zoro's location and manages to save Zoro, who's currently unconscious right now. Then we go to the main floor where everyone is cheering that Big Mom's been defeated. Nami's there with Tama, Zeus, Lady Speed, Marco, and Kumachiyo, and Hihimaru. And Marco's taking care of them right now, with him saying, keep your wits about you to the end. Things are still in flux. This is the most dangerous island in the world right now, because Luffy's fighting Kaido, and that whole fight's going on. And everyone is still cheering because Law and Kid defeated Big Mom. Big Mom has fallen in battle. You did it, boss, Captain. And both Kid and Law said they are out of stamina. They're done. They're not fighting anymore. Because they're saying, like, if the man who emerges from that fight turns out to be Kaido, then I don't have the willpower left to resist. They are so tired that they're thinking that if Kaido comes down there and if he defeats Luffy, they're not gonna try and fight him. They don't have the willpower to resist Kaido after all that they've done. I would hazard a guess that the Kaido versus Luffy fight could end on June or July at the latest, hopefully. June or July? That's still a ways off. What else do we have to cover before the final fight of Kaido and Luffy? What else do we have to cover? Big Mom's been defeated. All the Tobiropo have been defeated. All the Straw Hats have beaten their respective opponents. We no longer need to worry about the Kanzenbo going down there blowing up Onigashima. Momonosuke is steadily pulling Onigashima away from the Flower Capital, so that threat is gone. Kid and Law are out for the count. They're too tired to do any more fighting. Drake is getting up, preparing to possibly fight the bowler hat guy. Zunisha's outside of Wano right now and could wind up destroying the warships that are making their way towards Wano. Brook and Robin are somewhere. Jinbei is where Raizo is, though I'm pretty sure he'll save Raizo. What else is there major that needs to be covered right now in Wano? Save for Kaido versus Luffy. To think that it will take to June or July at the latest for Kaido versus Luffy to end, that's too far. That's too far. That is too long. That is too long. You cannot tell me that we can't get Kaido versus Luffy within March, next month, or April. Maybe May at the absolute latest if Oda stretches it out. But at that point, it would still feel like it's too long. June or July, that is way too long to see the final fight between Kaido and Luffy because there's really nothing else in Wano to cover. All major fights except for Kaido and Luffy has been covered already. Kaido's backstory. That's actually a good point. Never mind. Because this chapter 1041, does cover a little bit into Kaido's backstory, a little bit. So maybe Kaido's backstory might cover. Because how long was Odin's backstory before we got back to the present? How many months was that? I doubt it's finished in March. Maybe late April or early May. But yeah, you're right. March, it might be too soon as well. It might be too soon. I was taking other gaps into account, April or June at the earliest. For me, maybe late April or early May. Late April or early May at the most. But June or July, even with gaps, that still feels like it's I still feel like that's way too long to bring the conclusion to Kaido and Luffy's fight. But with Kaido's backstory, that could add on to it. But even so, that still feels like it's too long. So with that going on, it still shows Kaido and Luffy still fighting on the roof. And apparently, Kaido could sense that Big Mom was beaten. Because he says, did you sense that too? They've really gone and done it now. And he screams out, Lin lost the fight. And then Luffy can tell that both Kid and Law have beaten Big Mom. He's saying like, wow, Jaggy and Traffy won? That's amazing. And then we get some backstory as a voice is talking to him inside of Kaido's head. And this is like past thoughts. Wano overall better be finished by August, preferably July. Yeah, we're at a point where Wano should be getting near its end. This is Luffy versus Doflamingo now only territory. We're entering into the final phase, and it has to end right here. Then we go into the aftermath chapters, and then we can move on into the next arc. But a flashback of a voice speaking to Kaido, and he's saying, "You got a mouth on you, kid. Hello, can you speak? How old are you? Only 15? You're so young. Is this your first time teaming up with Rocks? Don't trust him. He's a scoundrel. You have any trouble, you just tell me." And that's when we see that Big Mom was there to introduce, there to first meet Kaido when Kaido was only 15. Big Mom is now Hot Mom. Hot Mama, yeah. "I'm Linlin, and I'm going to be the king of the sea. Put her there." And then it has Kaido thinking back, "I've known that old hag a long, long time." He's known Big Mom since he first joined the Rocks Pirates. And Big Mom has been on that crew since before he joined. And then Kaido, in his drunken state, starts sobbing and crying, saying, and just after we swore an oath to claim the One Piece together. Because remember, they said that they're going to work together to claim the One Piece. And now Big Mom's been defeated, and now he's actually sad. Kaido is actually sad that he can't keep his oath with Big Mom to claim the One Piece together. But here in this instance, Wano started July 2nd, 2018, so maybe we end around maybe late June this year. Wano itself, yes, but the fight between Kaido and Luffy all the way in June or July, far too long. But in this next series of panels, Luffy goes Gear Force Snake Man, Prime Big Mom, or Black Maria. That's tough. They both give off some major Ada vibes. ¿Por qué no las dos? But Luffy goes Gear 4 Snake Man and uses a new move called Gum Gum Hydra, which is basically the Gear 4th version of Snake Man's Gatling. Doesn't Black Maria have yellow hair? Big Mom has pink hair. Yeah, Black Maria has blonde hair. Big Mom has pink hair. But Luffy goes Gear 4 Snake Man and basically uses Black Mamba, but uses it in rapid succession and with both hands. So it's essentially him using both of his fists to use Black Mamba in quick succession so fast that Kaido can't even respond to him getting decked over and over and over and over again with this attack. And Luffy says, "Your ambitions mean nothing to me, especially if it leads to people here with no food to eat." It should let you know, this instance should let you know why Luffy's doing what he's doing. Luffy is doing this not just because he intends to beat all the Yonko in order to become king of the pirates, but the major drive to the reason why he's taking on Kaido right now is because his rule, along with Orochi's rule over Wano, is causing people like Tama to have absolutely nothing to eat. That's the reason, that's one of the major driving forces of why Luffy is fighting Kaido. It's not his ambition to become the king of the pirates and to beat Kaido simply because he's the one to step in line. He's giving this all he's got because he wants to make sure his friends in Wano can have food to eat, clean food, safe food, and that they can live better than the way he arrived. That's one of the main big reasons why he's beating up on Kaido right now. He's not doing it for selfish reasons. He's doing it because he doesn't want to see his friends living in some squalor. Kind of honorable when you think about it. And even then, Luffy has once said that he doesn't see himself as a hero. But his actions prove otherwise. Even though he's a pirate, he's technically supposed to be the bad guy. His actions prove that he has the makings of an honorable individual, even though he's not above using dirty tactics. Black Maria is like a humongous version of Setsuka from Soul Calibur. And Karma says, yeah, that yellow looks trash. Prime Big Mom all the way. It's a neck and neck type of deal there. Your ambitions mean nothing to me, especially if it leaves the people here with no food to eat. This is my final Gear 4. Now, when I read this, I was wondering, is this the height of his power that he's going to reach and we reach Gear 5? But no, I'm pretty sure it just means that this is my final time using Gear 4 for right now. I'm not stopping until I've completely run out of strength. So he's basically saying that he's going to keep using Gear 4 and he's going to keep beating on Kaido until he has absolutely no strength left. He's basically saying this will be the last time I use Gear 4 in this fight. But I'm just going to keep using it until I run out of all of my strength. I'm going to drive you out of Wano if it's the last thing I do. And that is the end of chapter 1041. So, if we go to the short synopsis of this, it says, Komurasaki reveals to Orochi that she is Kozuki Hiyori as she buries him with a ceiling cave-in and renders him unable to use his devil fruit transformation. Elsewhere, Izo manages to defeat the CP0 agent Maha, but goes down in the process, and the remaining agent receives a call relaying an edict from the Five Elders to eliminate Luffy immediately, without regard to his current status battling Kaido. Meanwhile, Raizo has emerged victorious over Fukurokuju, and Frankie recovers the unconscious Zoro, while those on the live floor react to Kid and Law's triumph over Big Mom. Kid and Law are left in no state to fight Kaido, and Luffy is determined to take down the Emperor before his final usage of Gear 4 runs out. Kaido should just punch Luffy into Gear 5. Might be tricky for him right now since he can't tell where the punches are coming from, and he can't really he's not able to retaliate right now because Luffy is hitting Kaido so hard and so fast that Kaido cannot accurately counter it right now. Because in this panel, he says, where are these punches coming from? As he's being punched repeatedly by Luffy, endlessly, over and over and over and over and over again. It's essentially Luffy going full Kratos versus the vestige of Zeus at the ending of God of War 3. He's not stopping until he runs out of strength. Or if you're the player, until you're completely satisfied. Or the screen is completely red with all the blood you take from Zeus back then when you play God of War 3 at the ending. But going through this, we have a long summary. I am not going to worry about that. I'm looking at some of this. Let's see. Apparently, Orochi realizes he can't transform after being trapped under the debris, with Komurasaki revealing it was because she stuck a sea stone nail in him while she was playing. Orochi is outraged by her action, and he asks if she loved him, but she coldly replies that she bears no love towards him. She then tells him that it's poetic that his favorite song is Moon Princess, which was her father's favorite too. It is then that Hiyori reveals her true identity to a horrified Orochi and that she wore the mask so that she could avoid smiling for him while playing it. Because whenever she wore the mask, she smiled because it was her father's favorite song, apparently. So that's why she wore the mask, so that Orochi could never tell. And then we have another moment here in this long summary that says, in the castle basement, Izo has taken down one of the CP0 agents named Maha, though he goes down as well. The CP0 agent in the bowler hat, while injured, is still conscious and curses Izo for taking down one of them with him like he planned and for helping a couple of upstarts. The agent then gets a call and is told that by the orders of the Five Elders, he is to kill Luffy immediately. The agent reacts with outrage that he would be told to interfere with his fight with Kaido, but the agent on the other end tells him that it is necessary precaution because of the nature of the battle. Unbeknownst to him, Diaz Drake has woken up and tracked him down, determined not to go down empty-handed. So needless to say, the bowler hat guy is going to have one fight on his hands before he can even get towards Kaido and Luffy, which will be Drake. Now, when we go down here, we go all the way down to the bottom of this full summary. On the roof, after Luffy and Kaido's clash, Kaido deduces, based on the shockwave, that Big Mom had been beaten by Kid and Law, which Luffy praises the two of them for. He thinks back to the day he first met her on Rox's crew, and after going into his Naki Jogo mode again, sobbing uncontrollably over the fact that they just teamed up to get the One Piece together, Luffy, however, goes into his Gear 4th Snake Man and uses Gum Gum Hydra to strike Kaido in multiple places. Luffy screams that his dreams starve the people of Wano, and with all the energy he has, he's going to make sure he'll never come back to Wano again. So if we go to quick references, Zunisha continues to walk to Wano country. Momonosuke continues to pull Onigashima away from the flower capital. He reveals to Yamato that Oden tore out pages with crucial information from his logbook for an unknown reason. Because of this, Momonosuke is afraid to open up Wano to the rest of the world due to the potential danger it may face. Raizo and Fukurokuju both collapse from the fire. Raizo is confirmed to be the winner of the battle. Jinbei meets up with Raizo, who is still conscious. Raizo mentions that there are preparations in course for an unknown purpose. So there are preparations going on for something that Raizo is privy to that we are not. So what are the preparations that the Akazaya 9 have orchestrated for right now? Like, what else did they prepare? On the second floor treasury, Orochi gets angry at Komurasaki as Komurasaki continues to play her shamisen with her mask on. The ceiling collapses over Orochi, leaving him trapped, who cannot escape by transforming, as Komurasaki had used a nail made from sea stone that she has secretly planted on him when he was distracted upon seeing her earlier. When Komurasaki reveals that his favorite song, Moon Princess, was also the favorite song of her father Kozuki Oden, it causes Orochi to realize her true identity. The fight between Izo and CP0 concludes. Izo manages to defeat Maha, one of the agents, before collapsing at the same time. The lead agent talks to the other agent via the Denden Mushi. So it's not Rob Lucci that he's speaking to. He's speaking to the other agent that's still up there in that room with one of the Marys safely while his other cohorts are fighting right now. So that other agent, what he's been doing this whole time, apparently he must have been talking to the Five Elders, and that's why he's relaying this information. The lead agent talks to the other agent via the Denden Mushi. The agent reveals the new orders he had received from the Five Elders is to eliminate Luffy at once due to the potential danger he possesses if he succeeds at defeating Kaido. Drake manages to recover from his defeat and stands up behind the lead agent. Frankie reaches Zoro and catches him in time before he falls off Onigashima. Tama's group are with Marco, who treats Komachiyo and Hihimaru. Kid and Law are still lying down conscious after defeating Big Mom. The fight between Kaido and Luffy continues. Kaido senses that Big Mom has been defeated and recalls his first encounter with her. Kaido is mentioned to have joined the Rocks Pirates at age 15. And then Luffy transforms into a Snake Man form in a final attack and relentlessly attacks Kaido, determined to keep going and defeat him before he runs out of strength. And that covers every major important detail over the course of these chapters. Whew. That was a lot to go through. Now, if I can pull up the Gum Gum fruit so we can get a description of the Gum Gum Hydra and just what exactly it is, if I go down here to Snake Man. Because I read this yesterday. Gum Gum Hydra, an attack consistent of rapid-fire punches similar to Black Mamba, but Luffy's arms are infused with Conqueror's Haki to increase their power. It was first used against Kaido. A Hydra is a serpentine monster from Greek mythology, said to grow multiple extra heads for every one it's lost. So, like I explained yesterday during my reaction to the last chapter, Hydra is basically like Black Mamba, and Black Mamba is an attack that allows Luffy to increase the speed of the attacks the longer he punches. So now Luffy is punching Kaido multiple times, not only with the speed of Black Mamba, which was enough to actually hit a person like Katakuri who can see the future. and should be able to dodge it, but that speed of his punches transcends and is faster than Future Sight. These punches are now being laid all over Kaido with the combined power of Conqueror's Haki as well. So Luffy is just basically just peppering Kaido with countless punches, all imbued with Conqueror's Haki, and Kaido can't react to it. That's what's going on right now, and Luffy says he's not going to stop until he's fully beaten Kaido. And now we just wait. Now we are here. When I think of Hydra, I think of Magellan's poison attack. I think of that as well, because there's not many attacks that have that same attack name, but his Hydra was actually kind of powerful. When you think about it, Magellan was the only person that Luffy couldn't physically defeat. Him and Bartholomew Kuma. Kuma and Magellan were the only two people that Luffy couldn't physically beat. Kuma did it effortlessly and separated and defeated the entire Straw Hat crew when they were on Sabaody, and then Hydra defeated Luffy by covering him and almost killing him with an insurmountable amount of poison. Had it not been for Ivankov, Luffy would have died then and there when he went to Impel Down. But here we see Luffy using basically the most heightened form of his Gum Gum Gatling that we've ever seen, with him using Conqueror's Haki and the speed of Gear 4th, which is already a speed-based version of his gears. The fastest of his gears. Like I told you, his gear forms are basically like Deoxys's different forms that Deoxys can take. Attack, speed, and defense. Snake Man is the fastest of all of his Gear 4th variations. So now we got Luffy using the fastest he can ever punch with the most powerful he can ever punch with Conqueror's Haki. Because mind you, he's not using Gear 4th Bounce Man with all of this. He's using the speed along with the combination of his own strength and the strength of Conqueror's Haki imbuement to basically cause Kaido to just be decimated with countless amounts of punches. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I can say this. All major events that are going on within Onigashima and Wano right now that have extreme relevance have all been resolved except for Kaido versus Luffy. All fights that we were waiting and seeing the end and conclusion of are over. Kid and Law versus Big Mom, done. Who's Who versus Jinbei, done. Frankie versus Sasaki, done. Robin versus Black Maria, done. King versus Zoro, done. Queen versus Sanji, done. Jack versus Inuarashi, that's done. Raizo versus Fukudo Kuju, done. The fighting between Kanjuro and the rest of the Akazaya, that's done. All these major fights. Ulti's defeat at the hands of Big Mom and Page One's defeat at the hands of Big Mom, that's over and done with. So all of the Toby Roppo have been defeated, save for former Toby Roppo member Drake, who I believe he's going to be going after the bowler hat guy. And I'm thinking of the bowler hat guy from Meet the Robinsons now. All major things that were transpiring, the looming threat of Kanjuro's Kazenbo going down to the armory and blowing up Onigashima and therefore blowing up the Flower Capital when that happened, that's over and done with. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Kiku and Kidimon have been picked up by Usopp, who's on top of Hamlet right now, and they're trying to make their way outside of Wano. Marco is there with both Kumachio and Nami and the rest of them, and Tama. He's there with them. So that's what's going on with them. Nekomamushi's there with Carrot and Wanda. We don't know where the whereabouts of Peros Pero is because he's frankly just down for the count. We don't even see him at all. But all major fights, I mean, Basil Hawkins versus Killer, that's definitely done. Basil Hawkins lost an arm in the process and then got cut straight up the middle. all major fights between major individuals from the Supernovas, from Kid's crew, from Law's crew, and Luffy's crew, they're all done. With the only fight being left being Kaido and Luffy. The major ends that we had to tie up before the final fight have all been resolved. Forgot the bad guy had an Ever bowler hat in Meet the Robinsons. Yeah. Whenever I say bowler hat guy, the bowler hat guy, I immediately think of him. I immediately think of him and Doris the hat. All major fights, all major conflicts, all major issues that are transpiring on Wano right now have basically all been resolved. Because I don't consider the world government ships outside of Wano a factor, because all Momonosuke has to do is give an order to Zunisha and they're destroyed, so they're not really a threat. Presently. But all major conflicts that are transpiring on Wano right now have all been resolved, and they're all down to one final fight. That's it. We are basically just left with everyone just getting themselves together, while Luffy is fighting Kaido. We no longer need to worry about people fighting other individuals other than the Kaido versus Luffy fight right now, as far as I know. They just have to get together, and figure out what they're going to do when Kaido is finally defeated. Because when Kaido's defeated, them flame clouds are going to get gone, and when those flame clouds get gone, Onigashima's going to go down. So now they need to figure out how to even get off of the island. And I don't think Marco's going to be making many round trips of trying to get everyone off of the island individually. So now it's just everyone finishing whatever they're presently doing. We finally reached it where we only have one major thing to resolve now. I'm not even worried about the bowler hat guy going after Luffy, because Drake is going to take care of him first. That's what it's looking like. But now all major events that are going on in Wano right now, the only one left is Kaido versus Luffy. And I know I've said this multiple times because I tend to repeat myself sometimes, but that is the only major conflict we have left right now to decide the fate of Wano. That's it. We are down to just one last fight. At least for right now. Because who knows what'll happen after the whole incident when Kaido's eventually defeated. Who knows if the world government will try to worm their way in and then we'll have another fight in our hands. I find it doubtful, but who knows. But we're down to just one event now. And then it's the aftermath. So now we just gotta see how long it's going to take. Will we see a Kaido backstory? Will we see how he's behaved on Rox's ship? Will we learn Kaido's backstory? Will we learn how Yamato came to be? Will we learn who Kaido is? How he became who he is? How he's as powerful as he is? Will we learn Kaido's backstory leading up to the eventual final blow that will decide the fate of Wano between Luffy and Kaido right now? Will we learn? I would very much like to learn Kaido's backstory, because the more we learn of Kaido's backstory, the more we learn of Rox. And the more we learn of Rox, the more we learn of the events that could have lead up to God Valley and all the things that transpired there. More information leading to more information. But let's just pace ourselves right now. March starts tomorrow, and we're just gonna have to see where the story goes from here. Whew. Well, that took a while. How long did I go for? 2 hours and 18 minutes. Still can't forget about Snitchman and Pooh. He's out there somewhere, but he's probably running from his life, because every fight he's gotten into, he's almost nearly died in. If it wasn't Zoro slashing it with Shisonsun, then it's Kid embedding a giant metallic hand in his face. And then it's CP0 fighting a Pooh. I don't think Apu is going to be a major threat to anyone. Let's just be honest here. He may have a member of the numbers with him, but I don't think he's going to have any major play. Even if Bowler Hat Guy and Drake's fight gets some spotlight, I can still see the main event ending in 3 months or less, counting backstory and gaps. We're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see what the next chapter will bring. Now, the thing is, and I said this before, it does not show here on the Viz side anymore when the next chapter is going to go up. Oh, now it does. Now it shows it. So now we're not going, and now I can visually confirm that we're not going on break. So next week, we're getting another chapter, and we get to see where things go from here. I would like to imagine that we are not going to continue the fight of Luffy. We're going to be looking at what everyone else is doing, and then leave Luffy versus Kaido for its own specific chapter. Let everyone do whatever they need to first, so we can only focus on Luffy versus Kaido and maybe Kaido's backstory, which is have to see. But March starts tomorrow, and we're going to have to see where things go from here. March is also the start of my birthday month, so I'm turning 30. Starting in March, I'm going to be turning 30 on the 23rd. So, and I've already put off a time off request for my job, which I put back in Germany. Why did I say Germany? Put back in January. That has been approved. So not only will I be able to enjoy my birthday, but I'll also be able to enjoy my dad's birthday, which is 2 days after mine. And I'll not only be able to enjoy both my birthday and his birthday, but I'll also have time off to play Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which comes out on the 25th as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that. It's going to be a great month. It really is going to be a great month. Maybe we get a Sanji panel next chapter? Maybe. If you mean like Germa Double Six's an emotionless excursion? Maybe. Or you just mean a panel with showing where Sanji is right now, because apparently he's being intended to. I wouldn't be surprised if he's being intended to the courtesans from the pleasure hall right now. So that's probably where he is. The moment he wakes up, I wouldn't be surprised if he reopens one of his wounds because of, you know how he is. But we're just going to have to see. I got nothing else to say about these chapters except that they were extremely good. I enjoyed all of them. We finally have all fights resolved. I'm just happy that Raizo versus Fukudo Kuju is finally over, because most of their fights was just them standing. The majority of their fight was just them standing in place, waiting for the other one to concede the paralysis jutsu, and they just let themselves get set on fire before the other one just gave out. So I'm glad that fight is over and done with. Now we can focus on more important things. Good to see you, Brandon. Always good to see you. But I got nothing else to say to these chapters except I am looking forward to what March is going to offer us. Whew. So much ground to cover. And even though we tied up all those loose end fights with only the big major fight between Kaido and Luffy being the only thing left, there are still so many loose ends of One Piece as a whole to cover. But I'm not going to go over them because that's just going to be another 30 minutes of me talking about that. So I'll save that for a later time. Overall, I enjoyed the chapters that we got in the month of February. I am looking forward to March. I really do hope you all enjoyed. That earlobe attack was cool, though. Attacking with earlobes. Earlobes aren't even... Like, how do you go and attack someone with earlobes? Are they weighted? Like, did you harden them up? What did you do with them? Questions for another time. All I can say is that I enjoyed every single chapter we got this month. Looking forward to March. And to everyone here, it was an absolute honor and a privilege to spend the last, basically 2 hours just talking about nothing but One Piece. I could literally spend hours just talking about One Piece. I really could. And I enjoy every single one of these reflections that I give to you guys. It is an honor and a privilege to do what I do each day. This is where my talent, like I said it in my community post, but this is what I love to do. I love to entertain, and I'm glad I broke out of my shell to do something that I actually enjoy. And I thank you guys for being, honest with me. We can have actual conversation with one another, and it's not just like you're just another number to add on to my subscriber count. I actually like to talk to you guys, which is why my Discord is open, so we can talk more about all this stuff that I don't cover in my videos or streams. I just enjoy this camaraderie that we have, and I love doing this. I can't say that enough. This is my passion. I would rather do this right here, right now, than anything else right now. Brandon will tell you, because I talked to him about it. I would rather do this than anything else because I would rather do what I love and enjoy than do something else that I don't enjoy and it does not involve around what I'm good at. I would rather do this all day. I would rather do this every day all day just for the rest of my life. And I just want to say thank you for making that actually a closer reality than it has ever been before. Cuz right now I am less than 50 people away from reaching 3,000 subscribers. Less than 50 people. I was saying to myself, we're less than 100. Now I'm less than 50. And it's like, it's amazing how far this channel has grown, how big this community has become. All the people that I call my friends who are also my moderators. I want to thank you for sticking it out with me this whole time. It really does mean the world to me. You didn't have to stay. You didn't have to endure all my mishaps, all my mistakes, and anything like that, but you chose to stay regardless. And I'm eternally grateful for you, each and every single one of you. You guys mean the world to me. You really do. Even though I don't know you in real life, save for Brandon because I work with him. But I just want to say thank you for accepting me. Because Lord knows that I could have been doing something else, but I probably wouldn't have been enjoying it as much as I am doing this. So I just want to say thank you. It really does mean the world to me that what I'm doing is actually bearing fruit and that you guys enjoy what I do. But I don't want to get too sentimental on you guys. Let me just go ahead and bring this to a close. It really was a great stream today. I will see you guys tomorrow as we read the next 10 chapters at the beginning after the end. Then on Wednesday, we'll be getting right back on Elden Ring so I can finally get powerful again and see if I can make my way inside that castle and hopefully beat Godric. So that'll be the goal we set for Elden Ring. And then on Thursday, I'll get back on Forbidden West so we can continue that storyline. And then Friday, more Elden Ring. And then Saturday, Elden Ring as well. When you brought up Pokemon, is anyone going to get Scarlet or Violet? I mean, it's looking kind of nice. It's definitely looking better than our Pokemon Legends Arceus, because I heard some things about Arceus, and people were not too big on it, but Scarlet and Violet looks like what everyone was hoping a free-roaming Pokemon game was going to be. I'll keep it on my radar, because this may be the first Pokemon game I've played since Alpha Ruby and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That's the last time I played a Pokemon game. So we'll just have to see. But thank you, everyone. All I can say is, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoy what you saw here today, then consider subscribing or consider becoming a member because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, love you too, Brandon Barris. He's yet another Brandon that I know. I know so many Brandons in my life. Brandon's my bro, though. My brother. Like, if I met him in real life, he's... Even though I never met him, because we met across from Warframe, he's family to me. But, yeah. Later, peoples. I done messed up my whole intro, didn't I? Whew.